Hello, and thank you for coming back for part 2 of Tammin, the abyss of the heart. Everyone grieves in their own way. Sometimes time patches the hole a loved one leaves behind. Other times, the hole becomes a gaping wound, a black void that swallows everything. And sometimes, just sometimes, a girl who's lost almost everything rises from the ashes, not just for her family, but for something far bigger than she ever imagined. Tammin! Tammy, wake up! Please! I'm scared! Tammin, wake up! Sarah's terrified voice pierced the silence, her cries soaked in tears. She shook me hard, grabbing my shoulders, her little hands trembling. Tammin! I shot up, gasping for air, the sudden movement sending searing pain through my chest, my broken ribs, my cracked breastplate. I'd forgotten for a moment, and now I remembered everything. Sarah let out a sharp scream and bolted from the room. It was just a dream, I whispered to myself, barely breathing through the pain. Sarah peeked her head back in, cautious, eyes wide. Tammin, you were having a bad dream, she said, tears still falling. I know, I said softly. It was just a dream, Sarah, but in my mind I silently begged, please, God, let it just have been a bad dream. I felt lightheaded, unsure of what was real and what wasn't. My mind was here, in this broken bedroom. But my mind, it was still floating in some half-world. That dreamland. The one that lately made more sense than reality. I rubbed my eyes and looked at my baby sister. She was crying again. I pulled her into a hug. I'm scared, Tam, she whispered into my shoulder. I want Daddy. I do too, Star, I said, using the nickname I gave her, because Sarah's singing voice was beautiful music, like starlight. I'd always believed she'd grow up to be a famous singer. Sarah, sweetie, I whispered, stroking her hair. You know what we have to do today? She didn't answer, just looked down. Her shoulders slumped. We have to be strong, like Mum, like Dad, like Callan. But inside, I was falling apart. I was dying piece by piece. But I had to hold it together for them. If God was real, Sarah mumbled, He'd let them come home. I wouldn't be scared anymore. I looked at her, at those big, swollen, light blue eyes full of grief. Her face, so much like Mum's. The same golden skin, the same naturally streaked, sunshine blonde hair, the same soft pink lips and perfect smile, a mirror of beauty turned to pain. I'm sorry I scared you, I said gently, moving her hair out of her eyes. You should still be in hospital, she sobbed. I know, Sarah. You keep having that dream. The dream that made Mummy and Daddy leave us. Her words were jagged and raw, And then she broke again, crying hard. Oh, Star, my sweet, innocent little Sarah. I pulled her close, my heart aching. They didn't leave us, I whispered. They're still here. We can't see them, not with our eyes, not with our ears. But honey, we can feel them. I placed my hand over her heart. We feel their love in here, in our memories. Sarah looked down. Then I don't think my heart works anymore. I can't feel them, Tam. I need them. And they're not here. Her voice cracked. The silence afterward hurt worse than anything she could have said. Why can't I fix this? Why can't I make her pain go away? She's just a child. She wants her family back. And I have nothing to give her. I'm so sorry you feel this way, Sarah, I whispered, the tears finally escaping my own eyes. I'm sorry. I don't know how to make it better. She sat beside me and hugged me gently. We stayed like that for a long time, maybe 5 minutes, maybe forever, until I was calm enough to speak again. Sarah, I said carefully, today we get to do something really important. We get to say goodbye to Mum, to Dad, to Cullen. We get to put them to rest. But the words tasted like poison. I hated every syllable. I'm not ready to say goodbye. How can I ask her to be? I didn't know it then, but those words would come back to haunt me. I won't let them rest, Sarah snapped. Her voice was sharp, filled with heat. They've been gone for a whole week and Koopy is hurting, she shouted. When we say goodbye today, I'm going to yell at Mummy. I'm going to tell her off for making Koopy hurt so much. Her voice rose louder, angrier, the pain inside her bubbling up and spilling out. The room felt like it was spinning. I was spiraling again. I didn't have the words. I didn't know how to stop the bleeding in her heart. I didn't know how to stop the bleeding in my heart. But before I could even try, knock, 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 someone was at the door. Chapter 2. The Day of Goodbye. Damn it, Tammin! Wake up! I flinched at the sound of Pop's voice, sharp and angry. Through the front door, I was just finished laying out Sarah and Koopy's clothes for the funeral. I ran to the door as fast as I could, considering I had broken ribs, and opened it. What took you so long? He barked, shoving me hard against the wall as he drunkenly staggered inside. I gasped, grabbing the nearest pillow from the chair and hugging it tightly against my chest, trying to dull the pain. The broken ribs, the cracked breastplate, they never let me forget. I'm just getting the kids ready for their showers, I said, as I coughed, still reeling from the pain. They should already be ready, he snapped, stomping towards Dad's liquor cabinet. I watched, frozen, as he pulled out Dad's most expensive bottle of OP rum and poured it into his dented black and silver flask. Then, bang! He slammed the cabinet shut so hard the glass shattered, shards flying everywhere. I didn't say a word. If I spoke, if I even thought the wrong thing, I knew he'd explode. And there's no one left to stop him now. I turned away quickly and walked into the kitchen, grabbing the dustpan and brush from under the sink. I returned to the dining room, keeping the pillow pressed to my chest as I knelt carefully and swept up the broken glass. Still, I said nothing. I'm 16. Half my family is gone, taken in a moment I saw coming, but I couldn't stop. The other half are only 6 years old, and they need me. Even if I'm barely holding myself together, they need me. I walked to my room and grabbed the black dress and shoes I'd prepared the night before. I moved quickly, avoiding Pop, avoiding Nan, avoiding the judgment I couldn't bear today. I rushed to the bathroom. I was nearly there when I saw Pop in the hallway, his face twisted with rage. I looked at him straight in the eye. Go ahead, I thought. Say something. Give me a reason. But he didn't. He just stared at me. I opened the door and slammed it shut behind me. Pop hates me. Always has. Not because of anything I did, but because I remind him of Dad. And he's never forgiven Dad for things I'll never fully understand. I turned the shower on, hard, letting the noise cover the sound of my sobs. As soon as the shower door closed behind me, I dropped to my knees. The pain in my chest burned. But I didn't care. I curled up and cried harder than I'd ever had. Please, someone, tell me this is just a dream. Tell me they're okay. Tell me I'm okay. Tell me please that I'm not alone. I hate myself, I whispered. Then I started hitting my head over and over again with clenched fists. Why didn't I tell anybody about the dream? Why didn't I try to stop it? The more I hit myself, the more the hole in my chest faded. At least, for the moment. Eventually, I calmed down. I stood up, managed to wash my hair, and turned off the shower. As I opened the glass door, I looked at the mirror and froze. There he was, the man from my dreams, grinning, laughing silently as if muted, his black eyes locked on mine. I have you now, he mouthed. Then, knock, 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 I jumped. Pop? I'm getting dressed, I shouted. His fists banged on the door again, but he didn't say anything this time. He just walked away. Sarah and Koopy got ready with Nan's help. Koopy didn't speak, not to Nan, not to Pop. Since the accident, he barely said anything to anyone. He just rocked, painted, and merely existed. To most people, he looked like a little robot, cold, programmed. But Sarah and I knew the truth. He was hurting more than anyone. When they were dressed, they sat on the couch, side by side, staring down at their shoes, silent and still. They were afraid of Pop, afraid of everything. Sarah knew if Pop lashed out at Koopy, she might lose her brother completely. to a full shutdown that she couldn't bring him back from. "Are you ready, Tam?" Nen called from the kitchen. "I guess," was all I could say. I walked into the lounge room and saw them, Sarah and Koopy, hand in hand, staring at the floor. That bond. It reminded me so much of Callan and me. And when I tried to feel him, to reach for that energy that always linked us, I felt nothing. Just cold emptiness. "Come on," I said softly, holding out my hands. "It's time to go." "But Mummy, Daddy and Callan aren't back yet," Koopy said. He still didn't understand. He couldn't. "I know," I said gently, trying not to cry, but in my mind's eye I saw it. A giant crack forming in my soul, ripping my very being in half. "We have to say our final goodbyes to them." "No!" Sarah shouted. "They're coming home! Mum always said grown-ups come back, and I believe her." I bit my lip hard. I felt the crack in my soul tear open even wider. I painfully fell to my knees in front of them, arms outstretched. They collapsed into me, and we held each other. "I don't want to say goodbye either," I sobbed. And just like that, the crack became a swirling black hole. Pop stormed into the room. We all jumped. "Tammin!" he roared. "Grow up and hurry up!" But something had changed. For the first time in my life, I wasn't scared of him. I stood tall, ignoring the pain in my chest. I stood strong. "Don't talk like that around the kids," I said, calm and firm. His face flushed purple, but he said nothing. He just stormed out, slamming the front door so hard it rattled the windows. Sarah looked at me, eyes wide. "Why is Poppy so angry at us?" I wiped a tear from her cheek. "He's hurting, just like we are," I said. He doesn't know how to show it." I took their hands. "Come on," I said softly. "Let's go." As we neared the car, Pop rolled down the window and screamed, "Hurry up, Tammin, before I get out and throw you in the car." I didn't flinch. I just opened the door and helped the twins inside. I was about to shut the door when he suddenly jumped out and slammed it shut himself, missing my hand by a hair. He glared at the kids, then climbed into the front seat and slammed his own door. Then he whispered, "I can't believe my baby girl is dead." I knew he was about to erupt again. Nen had started the car and pulled out onto the street. She hoped that her driving would have taken Pop's mind off the anger boiling inside of him. "It's all your fault!" he suddenly screamed, turning around in his seat and swinging a fist at me, but missing by inches. "Right!" Nen shouted, slamming on the brakes. "How is it her fault?" The car went silent. It's her fault because she looks just like him," Pop spat. "Just like him." Nen's fists clenched. She braced herself. "Go on, old man. Hit me. I dare you," she said. She was done. She was done with his behavior. We all were. Mummy, I want Mummy," Koopy whimpered. Clutching his chest, he started hyperventilating. "It's okay, little man," I said, hugging him. Sarah joined me, wrapping her arms around him. Pop shouted at me to stop babying him. "Stop it!" Nen snapped back at him, but Koopy was breaking down. I unbuckled his seatbelt and pulled him onto my lap, cradling him just like Mum used to. He screamed. He cried. He called out for her. I hugged him tighter. The tighter I hugged him, the more pain in my chest disappeared, as if by magic. Then I opened the door and stepped outside. The sun hit my face, stinging my swollen eyes. Only then did I realize I was crying again. "Koopy, sweetheart, look at me," I whispered. I promise it's going to be okay." I kissed his red, tear-stained cheeks. Beep, beep! A car behind us. I didn't even realize we were on the road still. I quickly stepped aside, clutching Koopy tightly, and placed him gently back in the booster seat. His eyes were blank now. He was rocking. He had shut down. Nen turned around, looking at us all now. "We should go now," she said, as she turned to Pop. Pop's promise to behave. I looked at Sarah and Koopy. "I love you guys," I whispered. Sarah looked at me and mouthed, "I love you too." She grabbed Koopy's hand and placed it against her heart. He didn't react, but she held onto his hand anyway. The funeral. When we finally pulled into the church car park, the whole car fell silent. We were all holding our breath. "Please, Mum," I whispered in my head. Please give me the strength to be strong for Sarah and Koopy." Nen was the first to exhale. She was shaking, trying not to have a panic attack. She turned to us slowly, her voice strained. "I guess it's time to get out." "I'll be out in a minute," Pop muttered, reaching into his suit jacket and pulling out his flask. He took a long, angry swig of rum. I turned to the twins. "Come on, my little ones," I said gently. "It's time for us to say goodbye." At this point, I felt nothing, just numb. "Sarah, honey, can you please get Koopy out of the car? I want to talk to Poppy for a minute." Sarah looked at me, concerned, but then nodded. "Okay, Tammin," she whispered. "Please be careful." Those words hit me hard. My baby sister should never feel the need to say that. I watched them climb out and shut the door behind them. I took a deep breath and turned to face him. "Pop," I said cautiously, "I wanted to let you know I've spoken to a lawyer about gaining full custody of Sarah and Koopy. He said I'm well within my rights." I paused, bracing for the explosion. "I don't give a damn, Tammin," he slurred. "You can have the little shits." I bit my tongue. Fighting venom with venom never works, not with someone like him. "Great," I said quietly, placing my hand on the door handle, but then his voice changed. He turned towards me, looking at me with his blood-shot eyes, his nostrils flaring. "Now that you've had your say," he spat, "I've got something for you." I tensed in my chair. "After today, I want nothing to do with any of you. I'm going to make your grandmother do the same." My heart sank. I never wanted this. I never wanted to cut ties. I just wanted to protect my siblings. Why, Pop? I barely got the words out. I've always hated your father, he growled. He stole my only child away from me, and now he's killed her. You all killed her. I'd trade all 3 of your lives for her any day. I froze, his words slicing straight through me. You bitter, hateful man, I said, my voice shaking. If that's how you feel, fine. But you can explain to your grandkids why they can't see you anymore. They love you. And I don't know. This could break them. I took another breath, my heart screaming. Just remember one thing, Pop, I added, knowing I shouldn't, knowing it would cut him deep. We've always loved you, even when you're drunk, even when you're abusive. The flash in his eyes told me I'd hit the nerve. Mum always warned us never to mention his drinking, but she wasn't there. She wasn't here. I yanked the door open and jumped out, slamming it behind me as I rushed to the others. Behind me, I could still hear him yelling. I'm sick of living, he screamed, punching the glove compartment over and over. They took my girl, and Tammin will pay. He took another swig of rum, then another, and then he threw the flask to the floor and stumbled out of the car, slamming the door behind him. Come on, mate, said Carter, one of Pop's friends. It's not the time for drinking. But Carter didn't know how angry and bitter his friend was. Didn't know Pop's history. Didn't know what he was capable of. I watched them walk up the stairs. Then I turned, grabbed my siblings' hands, and led them towards the church. Nen followed quietly behind us. At the top of the stairs stood Father Joseph, Dad's best friend. He was greeting everyone, asking them to sign the condolence book. When he saw Nen, he wrapped her in a hug. Why, Father, was all she could say. He turned to me, to Sarah, and to Koopy, hugging us one by one. I'm so sorry, he whispered. Then he knelt down and took the twins' hands. They're waiting inside for us to say goodbye, he said, eyes glancing toward the entrance. Koopy gasped. Yay! He cried. We get to see Mummy again. Did you hear that, Tammy? Sarah said. Father Joseph said they're inside. Before I could stop them, they ran into the church, calling for our parents. I couldn't breathe. They didn't understand, and I couldn't stop what was coming. I caught up to them at the front of the church, where the caskets were laid in a row, covered in flowers. They looked confused. Where's Mum? Sarah asked. Where's Dad? Callan? No, I whispered, choking on my own sobs. My babies, no. I dropped to my knees beside them, wrapping my arms around them. My beautiful Sarah, I whispered, kissing her head. My beautiful Koopy. I'm so sorry. They can't come back. They're in heaven now. We're here to say goodbye to their bodies. Sarah's face went blank. But Father Joseph said... She couldn't finish. Koopy looked around, panicked. No, they're just not here yet, he started yelling. Mummy! Mummy! I picked him up, holding him close, trying to keep him from breaking. I'd led them to the front row. Nan and Pop didn't even look at us. Our family was shattered, and no one knew how to piece it back together. Everything after that felt like a dream. I couldn't hear the music, couldn't hear the voices, only the rushing sound of waves crushing in my ears, loud and endless. I looked down and saw a folded piece of paper in my lap. Nan was beside me, placing the eulogy in my hands. "Oh," I said quietly. It was time. I stood and walked to the pulpit. I looked out into the sea of mourners. So many faces, so much grief. But I couldn't see their faces, only the energy. A black fog surrounded the room, everyone broken. But I couldn't see their faces, only the energy. A black fog surrounding the room, everyone broken, except for a few spots of yellow light, the energy of love and healing. I focused on those lights. One of them was Ty. He gave me a gentle nod. His friends did too. I took a deep breath and began reading the eulogy I had written the night before. I want to start by thanking everyone for coming today. I know Mum, Dad, and Callan would be proud to know they've touched so many lives. I know none of us want to be here. None of us want to say goodbye. But we're here because we love them. I want to begin today's eulogy with my hero, Callan. I paused, just for a second, to stop the lump in my throat from rising. Callan is, my best friend. We had a bond that words can't describe. We always knew what the other was thinking. We finished each other's sentences, felt what the other felt, even when we were apart. Mum and Dad loved that about us. They used to say they never had to worry because we had each other. And they were right. At least they were. When they were alive. I paused again, blinking away tears. But now I can't hear him. I don't know what he's thinking anymore. And the worst part is, I can't ask him. I looked out at the crowd. They were all so still, so silent. Callan loved life. He had a girlfriend he wanted to marry one day. He saw beauty in the world when no one else could. There are so many moments I want to share with you, but 16 years just isn't enough. A few people chuckled quietly. I must admit that helped. I smiled for a moment before continuing. Now, Mum and Dad. I swallowed hard. This was the hardest part. Mum was kind, beautiful, gentle. She had so much love for everyone she met. She gave her time to the church, to our schools, to anyone who needed help. She made every room brighter just by being in it. She wasn't just a mother. She was a storyteller. She was a protector. She was our light. She was our mum. My hands started to shake. And Dad, I looked up and I saw Pop stand and walk out of the church. He didn't even try to hide it, but I couldn't let that moment steal my voice. Dad was the best man I'd ever known. A police officer, a youth worker, a man who helped others before helping himself. He worked at the homeless shelter and gave everything he had to make the world better. And he still had time. always, for us. He'd come home and hold us like we were the most precious things in the world. And he'd say, life can be hard, but you've got this, and we'll never let go. How I wish he could look at me right now and tell me I can do this. I couldn't finish. My voice broke. I felt my knees go weak, and tears streamed down my face. Father Joseph stepped forward and gently put his arm around me. God knows you are strong, Tammin, he whispered. They're with you, always. I wanted to scream, to yell at him about God, but I didn't. I was raised better than that. I nodded, gathered my papers, and made my way back to my seat. Father Joseph stood up at the pulpit, addressing the church. Sarah and Koopy have written a poem for their mum, their dad, and their big brother Callan. They've asked me to read it for them. He unfolded the small paper, his hands trembling slightly, and then he began. We miss your smiles. We miss your laughter. We miss you. A lot. We've been told you're still with us, told you still love us. You loved when we sang to the family. You made us believe in ourselves. You always told us that grown-ups come back. But we see now. Sometimes they don't. Your forever has come. A forever that came too soon. Our tummies hurt. Our hearts are sore. Mum, Dad, Callum, please come home. Koopy needs you here. Sarah needs your hugs. We love you. Please come home. We're sorry if we made you mad or sad. Father Joseph had to pause. The words were raw, so pure. And they were from the hearts of children who still didn't understand that death is permanent. He blinked away tears. Come home soon. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. I glanced at Nan. She was crying quietly, a woman drowning in grief and shame. I knew she was hurting. I wanted to tell her everything Pop had said, everything that happened in the car, but I couldn't. She had already lost her only child, and she didn't deserve another wound on her heart. After the ceremony, I stayed seated. I didn't want to move, didn't want to break the connection. The last moment near their energy, their presence. Someone touched my shoulder. I jumped. When I turned, I saw her, Talia, one of my best friends since birth. She didn't say anything. She just wrapped her arms around me and held on tight. Sinead, her mum, joined us, then Sarah, then Koopy. We all held each other, trying to hug out the pain, trying to stay upright when everything inside us was falling apart. As we walked towards the exit, we stopped at the top of the aisle. 12 church members and 6 officers from the force were carrying the coffins. Mum, Dad, Callan, my Callan. I grabbed my chest. I couldn't breathe. Talia pulled me close. More friends joined us. Sinead held the twins with Nan. No! I cried out as Callan's coffin passed me. Callan, please! The moment shattered me. Then came Mum. I fell to my knees. By the time Dad's coffin passed, I couldn't even lift my head. Everyone else saluted him. Sarah and Koopy were too young to understand. And I I just broke. As the hearses drove away, I heard 10 sharp gunshots from the police officers, one for every year Dad had served. I stood slowly, weakly. One by one, my friends came to hug me. The last was Ty. For the first time ever, I didn't feel that spark. I just felt numb.